Hi, everybody. I'm Suzette Cotto, and I am the Public Relations Manager for a new historical fiction novel called Nixon and Dovey. And we have Bob Hughes with us, who is a Booster Club member, a VIP Booster Club member. Wave hi, Bob, so everyone
Hi.
can see you. Okay. All right, this is Bob, and we're going to have the honor of asking Bob some questions about the novel so that we can build interest for people who could potentially read the book when it comes out. So we want to have as much information as possible and then collaborate with other people. That's why we're doing a Google Hangout today to get feedback and drive interest on making the novel as available as possible to as many people as possible. So social media is going to play a really important part of what we're doing here. So Bob, the novel Nixon and Dovey takes place in what time period?
It's pre-Civil War, post-Revolutionary War, early 1800s.
Okay, and how would you describe the book as far as the theme of the book and what would be interesting to readers?
Well, it's a historical fiction book, and personally, I've always been very interested in history. Over the years, I've read a lot of history, like straight history, but I also like historical novels, and that's what attracted me to the book. It was a sort of a period in between those two big periods that I mentioned that I didn't really know a whole lot about, so it attracted me to it. And I've always liked to read history because I like to learn about what went on during certain periods of time and why they happened. But I've also been very fascinated by a lot of the little things in history. What was daily life like? What did people live in? What were their houses like? What did they wear? What did they eat? What did they do for amusement? Things like that. And I thought this book gave you a really good picture of life in the early 1800s.
I think that historical fiction is not something that is commonplace anymore. Back maybe back 40, 50 years ago, you would see things like Gone with the Wind or the epic uh, series North and South that was extremely popular. So those were considered historical fiction because they took place during a time period, but some of the characters were fictional. So when you read this book, who developed as your favorite character?
Well, actually, I had two favorite characters. The first one was Dovey, and she'll probably be the favorite of a lot of people that read the book. Uh, she comes on early in the book as rather innocent and naive, but the strength of her character develops throughout the book, and I think a lot of people find that interesting. But the one I really latched on to was Latta McConnell. I really enjoyed his Scottish perspective. I liked, his brogue and just his sense of humor and the things that he said. I lived overseas many years ago, and I had a really close friend who was from Scotland. And when I first was introduced to Latta in the book, my first thought was of my friend Fred, because they seem to be a lot alike, very enjoyable, loyal people. Uh, Lotta comes across as a lot of fun. Uh, one incident in the book that I thought was really humorous. Lotta didn't like to wash, as a lot of Europeans back in that period didn't like to do. And there's a scene where Nick tricks him into the river and makes him take a bath. And of course, Lotta is just aghast at the whole thing, and is really giving Nick what for. But I think when it was all over, he kind of enjoyed being clean for a change.
Well, I guess back in those days when all you had was a little bit of a running stream to take a bath in, it wasn't like it is today where we have access to modern plumbing. But
That's true.
that's a funny depiction of how somebody back then would, you know, avoid taking an obvious opportunity to have a bath when there was one available. So,
Yeah. But
so
throughout the book, Lotta proved to be a really true friend of Nick's. I think when you think about Nick, there are times where he's rather impetuous and has a temper. Maybe he's a little immature. And I think Lotta's the one who's a very stabilizing influence on him. He kind of saves his bacon a couple times, but he also keeps him from getting himself into some trouble or avoiding some troublesome situations by guiding him. And, he just was that way throughout the book, but he said it with a lot of humor a lot of times too, which made him a very entertaining character.
So, what did he and Nick have in common? The main character Nixon Dovey, or of Nixon and Dovey, Nixon Curry, is what do they have in common? So that what
Well,
draws them together.
Nick and Lotta both love horses, and Lotta trained Nick's horse, his bold spirit, and helped him do very well in some races. And then I think just by hanging around that way and doing a lot of other things together, they just got real close and became good friends.
So horse racing back then was a big deal. I guess it was a form of entertainment as well as kind of a way to prove yourself as a man, kind of thing. I don't know. Tell me what the horse racing was like for them.
It's probably like auto racing today. It
Yeah.
was like you said, it was almost everybody rode horses, and probably everybody thought they were really good at it, but only a few really were. And so by racing the horses, it not only proved who had a good horse, but who was a good rider.
Right. So there's some interesting twists and turns in the plot of the story about horses and horse racing, and how that made the plot really rich and full of excitement. So thank you for bringing Lotta into the reality for us and making him colorful and telling us who he was in relation to the main characters. What we're going to do, or what we are doing now, is we're introducing our VIP Booster Club. We have a new website, and the website is nixonanddovey.com. And if you go to the website, you'll get lots of great information. You'll get background about the story. You'll get background and history on Jay Curry. Hi, Jay Curry, the author of the story, and just some really great ways to connect with the other readers of the novel. It makes this a completely socially engaged novel. For one of the first ones that I've known about that had this much connectivity with its readers. So I'm going to say hi to Jay Curry, the author's novel, and if you had a question, Bob, what question would you ask Jay?
Hi, Jay. I just wonder, are Dovey and Lotta, were they real persons?
Absolutely. Of course, Nixon and Dovey are the main characters. They're both real characters. But Nixon ran around with two other people, Ben Wilson and Lotta McConnell. So the Nixon, Curry, Lotta McConnell, Ben Wilson triad is kind of the whole story, both in the book and in the real world at the time that the book's based on. So they're all real characters.
How long did it take you to do the research and to write the book?
Well, my hair was dark brown at the time, so 5 years. Doing it mostly with no internet, and so there was a lot of research went into it. The actual writing has been over the last 3 or 4 years. It's just been a real piece of my life. I've enjoyed this so much, so I'm sad to see it come out. I have to come up with work on that.
Well, I think you've delivered a great book and created some very colorful and memorable characters and a truly interesting story. So it was a pleasure to read the book.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well, I want to thank everybody that is joining us today and encourage you to go to our website, nixonanddovey.com, where you can join the Booster Club and get on our mailing list so that you're one of the first to be able to buy an author's copy of the book. Jay will be selling some of the books pre-release and have them be author's copies to Booster Club members, and they'll be autographed, and those particular people who get the opportunity to pre-read the book will also have an opportunity to join us in a future Google Hangout. So we're looking to completely socially integrate the reading and the website and the social media. We have a Twitter feed, we've got a Facebook fan club, and we have the Booster Club. So we look forward to seeing everybody. And again, go to our website, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future, and we'll be having more Google Hangouts, so stand by. We'll be back in touch. Have a great day. Bye, Jay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Bob. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.